Baseball is a game defined by lines. On the field, they're white. In the record books, they're black and white. Jackie Robinson broke the line that separated black from white in baseball. But players of color found that there were other lines holding them back. Not always visible, but clear.
In the 50s and 60s, and even early 70s, people thought they weren't smart enough to be pitchers.
Well, they would say we couldn't control the game, just like quarterbacks at that level.
There was a real perception that said, no, these guys don't have heart. I mean, it was said about Jackie Robinson, but I think the question was asked the most of the pitchers, and the standard was raised the highest for the pitchers.
The standard of excellence for any pitcher is 20 victories in one season. Above that line, you're an ace. Below it, you're one of the crowd. In almost 60 years since Jackie Robinson, more than 150 pitchers have won 20 games in a season. Of those, only 12 have been African American, black men born in North America. The 12 Black Aces. That's the name Jim Mudcat Grant has coined for this elite group of pitchers, linked by nothing but color, ability, and toughness to beat the odds, except for 4 who shared something more. 4 black pitchers won 20 games in the same community. Why them? Why here? What is this line within a line? This is the story of the Bay Area Black Aces.
The ace is probably the equivalent of the quarterback, and that carried a lot of implications, especially when baseball first got integrated.
In the first decade of big league integration, only one black pitcher, Brooklyn's Don Newcomb, won 20 games.
Most of the black players, they wanted to hit. They was good all-around athletes, and if you're a good all-around athlete, they want you in the field where you can play every day.
For those chosen to pitch, the mound could be a lonely place.
We just weren't smart enough to go over a game plan in the clubhouse. The pitcher goes over how you're going to pitch people before the game. My first year, I wasn't given that lineup to go over the hitters like the other pitchers were.
In an environment where little was given, Sam Jones had something that nobody could take away.
He had the biggest curveball you ever saw in your life. No one in baseball had the type of curveball that Sad Sam had.
First time I faced Sam, he threw me a curveball. I think I jumped out of my shoes, dropped the bat, underclothes, everything. And the umpire said, "Strike." I said, "What?" He said, "Son, that's a major league curveball."
He threw it differerly than anybody I've ever seen. If you can imagine yourself shooting a marble, you put the and you shoot the marble and the thumb comes up. Well, that's what he did when he threw the curveball.
A lot of people feared him because he had a reputation of throwing at guys, and he talked rough.
He was a street guy, you know, and he knew everything, and he gave you all the time, and he had this toothpick in his mouth all the time.
The ex-Negro leaguer could overpower anyone. His problem was control. When the Giants got him from St. Louis in '59, his career record stood below 500.
He was a veteran pitcher. He was 33, I believe, when they got him. When they thought with another starter, why, this would be the ingredient that would put them over the top.
Bill Rigney was just a fine, fine manager. He had an ability to let everybody know their role on the ball club. And maybe that was another factor in Jones's success with the Giants, because Rigney was a great confidence builder.
He pitched in 50 games that year, started 35.
In the late innings, Sam would get up and run to the bullpen, and the crowd would give him, a standing ovation because Sam was going down to get ready.
He had a charisma, and when he stood on the mound, I mean, there was a presence there, and I just loved watching him pitch.
He just got emotional stability on the mound, which gave him better confidence.
Confidence may have come from comfort, pitching in a city that embraced diversity, on a team that practiced it to a rare degree.
Bill Rigney one day, one of his coaches said, "Do you realize that you don't have a white player in the lineup?" And Rig says, "I'm not picking him by color, I'm picking him by ability and who I want in the game.
There was an undercurrent here, though. I remember hearing at Seal Stadium some fans referring to them as, oh, they're Riggs jigs. And we'd go nuts because that was the soul of the team.
Sad Sam Jones sets the Cards down on 3 hits, making it a happy debut for the home team in their new ballpark.
He won 18 games in 1960, but Rigney was fired that June. A new ace named Marshall arrived. Sad Sam's moment was done by the end of '61.
I don't know if anybody knows how old Sam was. He came along a little late, and maybe he was a little older than what he said he was. I don't know.
When you got to know him, he was just a pussycat, though, you know, completely different than his demeanor.
Sam Jones was only 45 when he died from cancer in 1971, just 1 week after a 22-year-old pitcher brought his Cy Young Award home to Oakland.
Everybody says that he's #1. That's Vida Blue. I said, oh, Vida Blue.
Vida Blue was something new.
I saw him throw, and I said, oh, my goodness, we got something here.
Vida Blue was too good to be true.
The name, Vida Blue. Come on, what kind of name is that for a baseball player?
Everyone you knew loved Vida Blue.
My mother and father would go without eating to buy tickets to go see him play.
You know, I really didn't like to pitch. I wanted to play center field because of Willie Mays, and I wanted to play first base. One day, somebody had to pitch, and I was a big kid from my age at age 14.
Vida was a great athlete. Probably could have played professional football, but the opportunities for Black and being a quarterback in college probably wasn't going to happen for him. And he came to baseball because he was a poor kid and a colored kid that needed money. Charlie Finley offered him whatever he offered him, and he needed the money to feed his family.
The A's already had one black starting pitcher, John Blue Moon Odom. By 1969, Vida was clearly ticketed to join him.
It was very rare for that time for an organization to identify a young black player, especially a young black pitcher, as he's the hot phenom in this organization. He's our future. He's the guy we're going to ride. You can't wait till this guy comes up.
In 1971, the full force of Vida Blue hit the big leagues.
Vida threw hard. Vida was overpowering.
The fastball looked like it was, after released it and got near home plate, and you said, oh, I'm right on this one, and it just looked like it picked up speed and went right by you. You say, well, wait a minute, what's going on here?
It was more than you wanted for a fastball. It was like going to the ice cream parlor and asking for an ice cream cone, and the man walk up to you and sit down a whole gallon and say, ooh, I didn't want that much fastball.
There was really a Vida Blue mania.
Every time he pitched, it was like a holiday. You know, I mean, there was an electricity in the community.
Black people really embraced the A's all over the country. And it's one of those things that would just go through the community. Yeah, Vida Blue won again, you know?
When they make a record about you, you are in. Some of the lyrics were, if you're looking for a hero that's strong and true, there's a boy in Oakland by the name of Vida Blue. He throws a baseball like it was shot from a gun. Everybody says that he's #1. That's Vida Blue.
To take advantage of this phenomenon, Finley splashed blue over everything in sight.
It was Kelly Green, Fort Knox Gold, Wedding Gown White, and Vida Blue.
I think he even got Vida to try to change his name, you know, to True Blue. You know, oh my God.
I explained to Mr. Finley that that was my father's name and that he gave me his name and I wasn't going to change it one way, shape, form, or fashion whatsoever.
A lot of people disagree with things he did. Charles Finley, being from Alabama, you would say he would be racist, but he wasn't. You know, he gave me the chance to show the world that I could control a game and be a starting pitcher.
Charlie may have been colorblind. He was also tone deaf.
Well, he gave me a Cadillac car, which was an insult to a black man. At that time, he gave me the car. All those B movies were coming out, Shaft, and I made the joke that it should have, were there any watermelons in the trunk, but he didn't get that one either. Anyway.
But in a town like Oakland, a 21-year-old black man could find refuge from fame and Finley.
He was always regular. He lived down in the projects when he was here. He lived over in West Oakland.
You wouldn't see him hiding or being aloof from the community and people who cared about him. He was out there.
When I had that convertible car that Charlie Finley gave me, it never got broken into, and People knew when I was out of town, when I was going on a road trip, I would leave the car. I didn't have a garage, so I left it parked out. I never had any trouble with it. The guys in the hood could have taken a razor to it any time they wanted to. I never had any trouble whatsoever.
Vida Blue earned just under $13,000 in 1971.
1 out of every 10 or 8 persons that went through the turnstile of the American League or Major League Baseball during the 1971 season, that I was pitching or participating in that game. You have to get it while the getting is good, and I was trying to capitalize on the season that I had.
Negotiations turned bitter. Sure, Vida was the ace, but before free agency, Charlie Finley held all the cards.
He didn't like the players getting more attention than he did.
It really soured my stomach about baseball. I wish I could have been rewarded the money that I should have been paid, and I continued to have the zest for baseball that I had in the 71 season.
After 7 bittersweet seasons with Finley's A's, Vida Blue found himself across the bay.
I was working on a situation which I was kind of uncomfortable for me, and it was like a sour love affair, you know.
He felt like he was, you know, as he said, free at last, free at last.
Vida had so much energy when he pitched and when he didn't pitch. Vida kept everybody up all the time.
I used to get out there and wave a towel and just to get the fans involved in that stuff.
He would go down the right and left field line and mingle with the fans, and you know, a lot of players didn't do that.
Nobody threw like Vida Blue, but his grip on a baseball can't begin to explain his hold on the Bay Area.
He had that ability to draw people in. He had ability to put people in the seats because they loved it.
Vida was the Bay Area's favorite son. Mike Norris was the prodigal son.
You know, Mike should have been a movie star. There was never a dull day.
Sad Sam's career was a gritty blues. Vida defined soul. Mike Norris brought a whole different sound.
Mike was nasty. His nickname was the Funk Child. Mike Norris was a creative guy. He had presence.
Let me tell you something. Michael Norris will fight you to the end.
Mike was a survivor.
He was San Francisco's own.
The neighborhood I grew in, what is currently called the Western Addition, was called the Fillmore, and in shorter terms called the Mo. My first opportunity to play organized baseball came over the park that was just across the street from my home, was Margaret Hayward. I thought that that was the greatest thing since sliced bread for me, to be able to don a uniform.
We like to hit, and so not a lot of people were interested in pitching.
But then a coach saw Michael Norris throw.
He lined us all up on the mound one day, and he said, I'm going to find out who's going to be my pitcher. And he said that I'm going to base this on who throws the ball the hardest. So obviously that became me, and I had a little accuracy as well, so I became the pitcher.
Mike Norris pitched his way out of the Mo. At age 20, he found himself knocking on the door of the big leagues.
He's a very happy-go-lucky kid. He's a great guy, happy-go-lucky kid with the most talent I ever seen from a pitcher.
I struck out Hank Aaron on 3 pitches. And as I came off the field, Alvin Dart came up to me, put his hand on my chest to stop me. He said, son, you just made my ball club.
Alvin Dart called him Jeremiah, a prophet sent to save the team. In his first big league start, he fired a 3-hit shutout. In his third start, he heard an explosion in his elbow.
I had to learn how to pitch all over because I lost immense velocity. And so I went back to turning the ball over again, and that's when I brought my screwball back off the shelf.
Nobody expected for Mike to win 20 games.
Nobody expected Mike to mesh with high-strung A's manager Billy Martin.
Yeah, what was it Mike told me once? He said, oh, irresponsibility is my way of avoiding stress.
Billy had the ability to see Mike's talent and was taking a different approach to try and harness and cultivate that. Rather than trying to get Mike to be like everyone else, that he recognized that Mike was not like everyone else.
I lost a 1-0 10-inning indecision. And I went in that clubhouse and I went into the bathroom and I must have destroyed that bathroom. You must have heard bang, bang, boom, boom for about 5 minutes. Everybody's standing there looking at me, and he says, Mr. Norris, you're the ace of my staff now.
Billy loved Mike. He took a special interest in Mike.
Billy understood black people because he was raised up around black people.
He went to an integrated high school, Berkeley High School. It was also the largest high school in the Bay Area.
I think he respected the black ball player. He didn't look at the black ball player as an entity, but as a person.
On September 16th, he won number 20.
After the game was how it set in, the scoreboard was still lit up. And on the scoreboard it had Norris, 20 and 6. Tears just started running down my face. It was just the most incredible feeling I've ever had in my life. And I felt that I could do it again, and that was the feeling that I had. It was just on top of the world feeling.
If you're black and you see somebody succeed at a great level in any walk of life, there's always that fear in the back of your head that something's going to happen.
You can't make everybody happy, and that was my problem. I wanted to make everybody happy. I wanted to make everybody like Mike.
Only baseball stood between Norris and his demons. Without it, they swarmed him.
I didn't have to come to the ballpark because I was on the DL. Instead of me being around the guys who come into the ballpark, I was staying at home and I was doing drugs. And then I began to have police troubles, and then I was arrested. And then I had to go to a drug rehab, and then everything just snowballed, and it just seemed like, you know, I was in a grave.
We never got a chance to know Michael because of his greatness and then his demise. We all have our downfalls and crap like that, but let me tell you something. There was one man I had to call that truly would help me. You know, not the guy who said he would help me, but if there was one guy that I knew that would help me, and I had to make one phone call, it'd be Michael Norris, without a doubt.
Time after time, Mike Norris has shown the great and mighty ability to come back. He fought through drug and injury troubles to pitch again for the Oakland A's in 1990. Today, he struggles simply to walk after suffering a series of physical setbacks. But it's the past that gives him the strength to go forward.
To win 20 games is just the biggest milestone that a pitcher can achieve. They couldn't take that away. And that was the fuel that I needed to keep going.
What fueled David Stewart?
What took place in Oakland, I knew was going to happen if I had an opportunity to do it. I knew it.
In the history of Major League Baseball, there have been 12 African-American 20-game winners. It could have so easily stopped at 11.
First of all, I never wanted to pitch. I thought catching was much more difficult than pitching. I ended up pitching. It was by fluke. It was by chance. It was totally against everything that I wanted to do.
Imagine that the A's had not settled in David Stewart's Oakland neighborhood.
They had two tremendous black pitchers. For me, I could really identify with Blue Moon Odom, even though Vida was like the big star on the ball club.
What if the Dodgers hadn't drafted him as a pitcher?
I wanted to catch. I mean, that's what I wanted to do.
He was a very good catcher. He had a very good arm, and he was a decent hitter.
The times that I pitched, the one thing that came out quickly and it was apparent is that I could throw the ball very hard.
But the road was hard. Finally made it to L.A. in 81, traded to the Rangers in 83, shipped to the Phillies in 85, released early in 86.
People thought up to that time that he'd been an underachiever.
In Los Angeles, there was just too much going on there and I didn't fit. Those were bad situations. Texas was bad. Philadelphia stunk. In my opinion, they all made mistakes when it came to me.
The thing that was frustrating Stu more than anything is that he knew he could pitch, and he knew he could win, and he just wasn't winning.
In May 1986, Dave Stewart signed on with the Oakland A's.
I was sitting in the bullpen probably as the 10th or 11th pitcher on the staff. I told Dusty, I said, man, this is stupid. I might as well just go home. He says, Stu, make him take the uniform off your back, because you never know what's going to happen in this game.
What if the A's hadn't hired Tony La Russa as manager in July of 86?
He called me in Milwaukee. We were in Milwaukee before he was going to take over the club in Boston. He says, my first game managing, you're going to be my starter. Now, I'm going to tell you some bad news. Roger Clemens is pitching. He says, What do you have to say? And that's all good, man. It's gravy. It's exactly what I said.
Got him.
Stu had that stare, and he pulled his hat down far enough to where all you could see was his eyes.
That hat, that stupid hat over his face. I always wondered why he did that, but it worked.
And the consistency of the stare. You know, it wasn't just that, oh, when I need it, I'm going to stare. I mean, that's how he went about his business.
Swing and a miss, he struck him out.
In 1987, Dave Stewart started a run of 4 20-win seasons.
You know, 20 games is like, that's like big time, you know, considering where I had been.
Stewart with a triumphant gesture.
He was as good as anybody for 4 years, and each and every year somebody won the Cy Young Award.
Somebody like Roger Clemens.
It was like the black and white heavyweight. You got Roger Clemens, this Texan, this big, strong white Texan, and you got Dave Stewart, this glaring like type of guy, this black guy, and it was like the Joe Louis against Max Smeller.
For Stu, he had an edge because it was like win or die. I think if he lost that game, any of those games that come, he would have killed himself. Stu would refuse to lose.
Some people don't have the strength to lead. I don't really know that I had the strength to lead. I didn't know I had the strength to lead until it was actually thrown on my back. But I tell you one thing, once it was given to me, I wouldn't like saying, here, you take it back, man, I don't want anything to do with this. You do what you have to do.
Hey, I'll tell you what, we're having a nerve.
You know, it's tough for me to rest when you know that there are unsettled situations. And that was an unsettled situation. The first night I was there in my uniform bottoms and some sleeves.
He went right down to ground zero to help out.
I mean, he was a presence from day one. I remember him getting food together, him being with the rescue workers.
A lot of the idea that baseball did a great job of handling an unprecedented crisis that goes far beyond the scope of their own game. You know, a lot of that positive image comes from Dave Stewart being out there at the Cypress structure.
Sometimes God puts you in a place, man, for a reason. And for all of the early crap that I went through in professional baseball, I think that was just his way of saying, hey, you know, I prepared you for this time. And man, if there's somebody in this game that's had it as good as I have, I just don't know who it is.
In 1975, Vida Blue won 22 games. Mike Norris was Jeremiah. David Stewart signed his first pro contract, and nearly 30% of Major League players were African American. By 2004, that figure was down to just over 10%.
The pitchers are disappearing, which disappoints me, are disappearing more than the regular ball players are disappearing.
Today, you can count the African American starting pitchers in baseball on the fingers of one hand. Where are the heirs of Jones and Blue, of Norris and Stu?
You see your scouts and things afraid to go into the inner city.
There's no facilities around for baseball anymore.
It's not just opportunity that's missing. Continuity has been lost.
We used to idolize the players of the past when I was coming along. And today's players, I don't think they really concern themselves with that.
But in the Bay Area, there is a tradition to celebrate. It lives in Jerome Williams of the Giants, in Alameda's Dontrell Willis, and in a young lefty from Vallejo, C.C. Sabathia.
Dave Stewart, he was the man. He was the man for us. We tried to get C.C. out there to see Dave Stewart. I wanted C.C. to be a Dave Stewart.
That makes me proud. That makes me real proud.
So many pitchers have reached 20 wins without touching a soul. You can't say that about the Bay Area Black Aces.
If you're looking for a hero that's strong and true, there's a boy in Oakland by the name of Vida Blue.
My goal right now with baseball, the love I have, is I want to administer that to a baseball academy that I would love to open up here in the Bay Area.
I can see it in my mind's eye, you know, getting these children together and talking about baseball. We want them to know about Michael, his accomplishments, and I can see their faces now. as he talks about the rise and the fall and then the rise again of Mike Norris.
There's nothing wrong with focusing on a dream. And we need to let them know that there's something rare out here, that we are sitting back and we're saying, go, go, go do it.